Very, very good. Well, hey, it is a pleasure to have Mr. Dr.
Mhm.
Dave Bushnell with us, recent USC doctorate. I'm really excited for this call. And I hope that we're recording it. So for others that couldn't
Mm.
be here to hear about this as well. But just how the theme here today is kind of just building our teams, how to have the best team. We cannot do this alone. We will burn out if we're doing this alone. We have to be able to build just great people around us that make this happen. I mean, there's no other way possible. I met Dave probably 10 years ago. I'm feeling like, he was with Global Leadership Summit and he used to tour around and he would come to Modesto and would have eat outside at Chevy's and all these pastors are out there. And I remember just hearing from him. And then the more I talked to him, the more I realized that we have so much in common. Our wives have the same first name, big believer in foster care adoption, and our love for the church, our love for God, all that. I just have a ton in common. And so a couple years ago, I said, Dave, I'm looking for someone to help me a little bit. We've got a few extra funds. I need some help with this Love Our Cities thing. Do you know anybody? And he's like, I might be interested. And so for a couple years, we worked together, or whatever it was, we worked together on that. Dave is the most amazing consultant, come alongside, listener. Um, and he's been what we are today, we're so much better with Lover Cities, having him apart and him looking under the hood and helping us to go forward. And we're going to continue that for sure. And I believe he'll be the same for all of you today as well. So I'm going to turn over to Danielle, and we've got some questions for the rest of the time. This is our time with Dave, and we're going to listen and learn together.
You bet. Um, yeah, just echoing Jeff. He's pretty great. And so I'm looking forward to just having this conversation. There will be time for some Q&A, and just some making sure that we spend time for you guys to be able to ask Dave questions. And just to bring some more clarity. So Dave, can you tell us a little bit about your background, and then I'll get into our little section here. So like why are you here?
Yep, that's great. I am here because I believe that the church is geographic mandate is beyond the four walls. And so the people of God serving their city is the theological invitation, to all of us. And so that's what gets me really excited about Love Our Cities is it's an embodiment of God's ultimate affection for characters in Scripture, and one of the characters in Scripture is the city. And God has an agenda for this city, and it's up to us to discern what that is, and serve God's agenda for the unique challenges that each of our cities face. So that's what brings me here. Is I hold each of you and the work that you do in high regard as you seek to be living examples of loving your city and convening others toward that same end. We could talk all kinds about why that's relevant right now more than it ever has been. But you're phenomenal leaders at convening and networking, and the work that you do is so important to your city.
Yeah. Um, I yeah, absolutely. And you have experience, background in really specifically like volunteer leadership and
Mhm.
building those teams, right? So you have classes that you went for that. Um, so with that in mind, and with our just kind of our subject this morning of building teams, so Dave and I, in planning this out, we actually want to take a couple of minutes and uh Dave, what did you always say? A slice of paper and a pencil? take,
Yes, a
take
slice of
a
paper and a writing stick.
yes, and a writing stick. Um And so we want you guys to actually sit for a couple of minutes and think about challenges that you feel you face around building a team. And the way I think of teams when we think of Love Our Cities or Love Fill in the Blank, I mean it can be kind of all over the place. Maybe you're thinking you're bored, like you know, big kind of bigger umbrella, or maybe just kind of the actual like hands-on team. But what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that you face, or your city might face in building those teams, in getting those people around you? And so, what we're actually going to do is we're going to take 1 to 2 minutes, and I want you guys to write those challenges in the chat. And so, we're going to write them in the chat when our time is done. Dave and I, we have a few that we believe are some of the challenges that we may all face. And then if there's any that really highlight or maybe seem to be from the chat, like everyone seems to have this challenge, then we want to make sure we talk about that as well. So back to that question, what are the biggest challenges that you feel that you face in building teams around you in your city? Take some time here. Go for it. All right, that was 2 minutes. I love a good noodling moment. um, hey, thank you guys for throwing those in the chat. Yeah, so I think a lot of these Dave and I will touch on already, and then so what I'm seeing, Dave, and you know your thoughts too here, but so what I'm seeing is time in general. So whether that's just finding the time to get in the same room, finding the people with the time, finding the people with the capacity for the time, and then a little bit more on like the Gina, I like how you wrote the division of work. How do you get the right people to do the right thing? I think that's really good. Okay. Let's jump in here.
That's a theme in there, and that's probably the thing that we hear the most when we talk about finding, especially finding leaders who will volunteer their gifting, is we think time. And I'm going to offer a perspective on that. In studying volunteer leadership, people, it's rarely is it a function of time. It's a function, not
Dave,
a function.
will you say that again? You broke up a little
Yeah,
bit.
it's not a function of time, it's a function of interest. So let's shift the conversation from time, because the reality is this: people are leading and giving their leadership abundantly. They just might not be giving it to the causes that we're currently interested in. The number one area where people lead, like as volunteers, more than anything else, is youth sports. Why do they do it in youth sports? Because they love their kids. And so that's not a time factor. They're given countless hours to lead in youth sports. It's an interest. So really, it's up to us as the conveners and the selectors of leaders, make a case that is compelling enough to eclipse their other interests in their life where they're giving their time. They have the time. They're just not giving it to what we are interested in.
Yeah. And perhaps if there is someone who continually says, I don't have the time, I don't have the time, I think we have two options there. You either talk about what it is that does interest them and see if that can come to the table, or you have the conversation of maybe this is not the thing for you. Would you say that there's another option, or that's kind of pretty much it?
No, I really like that it's okay for them to opt for something else with their time. And the best thing for us to do is to move on, because if we sit there and continue to beg the same person who's already given us an answer because they ain't showing up or they're not signing up, like I read about this somewhere, something about where we cast seed and something about soil and whatnot. Move on to better soil, and take the energy that you've got for throwing seed into a different spot.
Yeah.
So that does also mean that we're going to throw a lot. So for rejection, get ready and get used to no's, because the more no, we got to have a whole bunch of no's in order to get some yeses. So throw a lot of seed. Now, let's also, when we talk about time, here's the best gift that we can give people is to tell them exactly how much time their contribution is going to take, and tell them exactly what we want them to do.
Yep. Yeah.
Too often we say, this is great. I want to change the city. Will you help? You haven't asked me to do a thing. I haven't, like, that's a really cool vision. I want to change my city as much as the next person, but I really don't know what you're asking me to do. So, so make it really specific. So in my research around volunteering, the number one thing that people need this is what I asked people: what would cause you to want to volunteer as a leader? And bar none, the number one answer was, tell me what to do and how much time it'll take.
Yep.
And this is where it gets really, really hard for us, because we have to then actually scope a role that is appropriate to the life of a busy leader. They have other things going on in their lives, but we've got to get really creative about scoping a role that my gut says that can be done in about 2.5 hours a week. So that's the upper threshold. There's some people that'll give us more, and there's some people that may have a little less, but roughly 2 to 2.5 hours a week. And here's a very specific thing that I need you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And give it to them in the outcome form.
Explain that, Dave.
Yeah, so my favorite example is in the church world. You may be familiar when you go to church. You've got some kids that you want to check in to the kids ministry, and there's a line and whatnot. And so I'm going to say to a volunteer leader, can you put together a team that will check in families in less than 90 seconds? That's a very specific outcome. And if I just said, hey, can you check in some kids? They're going to go about that a little bit differently than the parameters that I've put on it. So you're going to think about what is the specific outcome that you're looking for. So let's translate it to specifically a day of service, right? So I might say to somebody, can you put together 4 service projects that will accommodate 20 people each? That's a very specific ask of a prospective leader, where I've broken down the task. To do that, they may need some help but I'm telling them exactly what it is that I'm asking them to deliver.
Yeah. So this all rolls really well into one of the buckets that you and I had talked about, was clarity around roles and expectations. And so that challenge being, there's vague roles, and those vague roles cause confusion, and then eventually they will cause burnout. If someone is showing up, but they don't know what they're doing, they're losing interest, they don't understand the why, they don't understand the vision, they will eventually just say, this is not worth my time, because we didn't make it worth their time. And so those volunteer environments, they just because of the natural start, it will often start informally, like, hey, like Dave said, we want to change our city, you want to help? That's very informal and it's very vague, but it's our job to make sure that we create clear roles, and honestly clear descriptions. So perhaps, that's a title. That's what Dave said, is a scope of work. What's the time that it'll take to do that? And I think another important thing is goals. Like, I love the check this family in 90 seconds. And then beyond that, I would even add the why to that. Why is being checked in 90 seconds important? And it's so the family isn't there, waiting. They're meeting a friendly face every single time they're checking in their kid, et cetera, et cetera. You're adding on those goals to those roles. The other two solutions that we kind of talked a little bit about in this is, co-creating those expectations with those leaders. I think that can be a really important thing, is you sit down with that specific person and you talk about what are those interests that you have? Is it your youth sports? Let's talk about that. Can your youth sports team volunteer? That's something that you can bring to the table here. But co-creating that so that they feel like they're a part of it, rather than just you telling them exactly what to do. And I know there's kind of a balance, there's a mix, but and just kind of really using those chances to meet those leaders where they're at, and creating the goals, creating the clear descriptions, to do that. One of the things that Sarah Abrams from Ventura, she has always said this, where, well, I'm paraphrasing here, but she essentially doesn't accept a no from, and this is with a lot of like how she does sponsorships, and I don't know if she's on here, sponsorships and whatnot, but if she asks someone, will you do this or can you do this? And they say no, she says, well, what can you do? And she just puts it in their plate, you know, she puts it in their lap and says, all right, you tell me, what can you do to help? And it immediately shifts the perspective for that person to look and realize, well, what am I interested in? What can I do? It's not 500, but it's a gift card, you know, like something like that, where there still is interest, there still is engagement and involvement from that person. So yeah, I think big picture, one of the biggest things that we can do is bring clarity around roles and bring those expectations into the conversation. Um, okay. How's how's that feeling so far, everyone? Is this bringing clarity to your roles? Clarity in the conversation here. Awesome. Um, okay. Dave, I think one of the other ones was um, you know, making sure that your team has the same mission, the same vision. Um, how would you speak into that?
So this is a heart resonance, and I think that the same what Katie mentions there in the chat is so important when it comes to selection. My favorite illustration of this is we're familiar with this incredible leadership organization that has consistent delivery of experience in their over 1,500 locations. It's this massive organization called Chick-fil-A, right? And my wife, you know, I say, I'm good, man, I'd love to be a Chick-fil-A operator. That would be amazing. And at the end of the day, she says, Dave, it's fast food. It's not fast food. It's a leadership enterprise.
It's an experience.
Yes, right. So here's the deal. What does Chick-fil-A do? It's very, very hard to become an operator of a Chick-fil-A. So this is the person that has the privilege of running one of their locations. Very hard. It usually takes 1.5 to 2 years. Why? Because Chick-fil-A is looking to select exactly who they already are. They're looking for people who embody who they are. So they're not going to pick somebody and then train them on who to be. They're looking for people that who they are is where we're going. So when we talk about mission and vision, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people that already bleed for the city. We're looking for people who have a heart resonance with linking arms across organizations and across sectors. If we're zeroing in looking for that. I'd love to give you a 3-point plan on how to find that, but at the end of the day, this is a soft skill that is acquired by reading the heart of another individual. Now, usually a heart has some indications in terms of consistency, in terms of generosity, you know, and frequency that the person shows up to something. Our actions are dictated by our heart. So those are good indicators of heart. Those are some of the things at the end of the day, and you all know this already. I think that the best way when you're talking about building a network that serves the city, I think the best way to find these people is through listening tours. And you know this already, right? This is the bedrock of starting city movements, is you simply sit down and have 1,000 cups of tea, right? Because we drink tea, not coffee. Is that I do anyway. But you drink 1,000 cups of tea, and you ask people the same 4 to 5 questions, and there's going to be people who light up around, and they've got specifically, when you say, tell me your dreams for the city, and they instantly have answers. Oh, those are the folks that you want to draw into your team. So I think a listening tour is a great way to assess mission alignment.
Yeah. How, I don't want to say, what would you do with these people as far as, so there's a difference between people who are enthusiastic and have passion and people who are truly suited for leadership.
Mhm.
So what, I guess, what attributes and traits of those people kind of scream out to you? And at that point, what do we do with the people who are really eager, but maybe not quite ready to be on team? That we think, oh, you're not quite suited yet. What like what can we do with that?
I think what we're doing here is we're teasing out the difference between a leader and a volunteer leader and a volunteer, because those are two different things distinctly. And it's really important for us to define what does it mean to be a volunteer leader in our context. So that's incredibly confused. But if we can define it in our context, what does it mean to be a leader? Now we know who it is that we're looking for. Most of the time, as I've worked with a variety of different organizations and movements, most of the time, the primary defining characteristic that separates a volunteer leader from a volunteer is their ability to build a team, their ability to recruit others. That's primarily the difference between a volunteer leader and a volunteer. So if that's one of our defining characteristics, then what we're looking for beyond passion and mission alignment is their ability to convene others. So what I'm going to do is, as I'm detecting whether or not this is a volunteer or a volunteer leader, is I'm going to give them a small task with that is not going to torpedo the organization if they bomb, but it requires them to gather just a couple of other folks, and I'm going to see if they can do it. And if they choose to not gather others and they just do it on their own, what I've got is a doer. I can't change a city without doers. I mean, we gotta have doers. This isn't like demeaning or devaluing volunteers. It's defining volunteer leaders. So we're going to look for people who others tend to gravitate toward. We're going to look for people who, when they speak, other people listen. We're going to look for people who know a lot of folks, and they've got fishing ponds. They've curated a wide breadth of relationship. So these are some of the things that we're going to look for that are characteristics in people who will be leaders instead of volunteers. So we can look for those things, and then we can also try them out. Somebody who is a doer and we think they might be a leader, well, then give them something that involves recruiting others.
Yeah. And to clarify too, both absolutely have their place. We need passionate, ambitious, enthusiastic volunteers volunteering alongside other volunteers. Because if you don't have that, then it just, like I want to serve next to someone who is having the greatest time of their life picking up garbage. It's not my thing, but if they're having a great time, I will have a great time. And they may not be, on the Love SV board, but they're going to be a dang great volunteer. And so knowing that everyone has their place, and kind of back to from the beginning when it's like it's okay to understand that the place and the roles of where your people sit, and that's really important.
There was another theme in the questions that got asked, and it was essentially, when I convene my team, how do I get them all there? How do I find a time when they can all be there? And I'm gonna say it has everything to do with the quality of your meeting and very little to do with the time that you choose. Quality of your meeting, not time that you choose. So let's talk how to have a great meeting. If your meeting can be done over an email summary, don't call the meeting. Like, hey, we're going to have all of our leaders here and they're going to report on how they're doing. Yeah, I ain't going to that meeting. I got better things to do than to everybody else report on how they're doing. So your meeting needs to be vibrant, engaging, draw people in. You're conquering your toughest challenges together. So if I might be so bold as to give you a very specific activity that you can do at your meetings that makes it attractive to folks, they'll be interested in coming. So at the top of our call, Danielle had you take 2 minutes and write down challenges. So what I'll do with leaders is I'll say, okay, exactly that. Let's take 2 minutes and I want you to write down your toughest leadership challenge when it comes to the serving day, the day of service, or the kind of what the team is working on together. So let's just take day of service. Write down your toughest leadership challenge that you're facing right now about our day of service. So they're going to take 2 minutes and it's going to be silent and uncomfortable and blah, blah, blah. And they're going to get a writing stick and a slice of paper and they're going to write it down. Then I'm going to ask you to write down something that you've learned in the last week. Could be anything. I don't give a rip what it is. Here's what I've learned in the last week. I've learned that a tooth, if you put it in Coca-Cola overnight, it won't be there in the morning. I've learned that the pH of soil matters to grow sunflowers. Whatever it is, you just have them write it down. Then you're going to ask a third question. What is an action plan that will solve your leadership challenge that's inspired by what you learned? An action plan that solves your leadership challenge inspired by what you learned. Now, it doesn't obviously have to be exactly based on, but it's going to be inspired by it. So now I've got myself an action plan. Then I'm going to get into groups of 3, and I'm going to give 1 minute to share your action plan. And then I'm going to give 2 minutes for the other 2 people to ask questions about that action plan. And there are no answers given. You're not allowed to answer their questions. Just ask questions for 2 minutes. And you're going to be ruthless on the 1 minute and ruthless on the minutes, and then move to the next person. What happens there is people are identifying the challenges that they have. You're actually giving them a workshop in how to advance what you've asked them to do. You're building team because they're solving each other's problems. So there's greater connectivity. They're realizing they're not alone on the mission, and they're going to leave feeling more confident because they just invested in other leaders. Activity alone will aid in raising the quality level of your meeting. So only call a meeting if you're going to help tackle challenges or make decisions. If it's just reporting on what's happening, just have them send an email or a text.
Yep. I am going to speak into that and then I want to move. Time went by so fast. But I want to make sure we have time for some questions too. One of it was an aha moment, and I should have had it many moons before I did, but actually coming to the meeting with an agenda and timeframes for the agenda it altered our meetings because it brought clear expectations and clear, understanding of what the meeting was going to be about, and then the time frame that we had for each section, and then clear action steps for each person when we left the meeting, because that automatically brought engagement and involvement. Like, you have to be there and you walk away with something that you are bringing back to the team. you are a part of the team, not just a what am I trying? A watcher. That's not the one. You aren't just watching us be a part, have this meeting. You are a part of it. So those things really changed how my personal meetings with Love SV really were impacted. Okay. I know it's 8:43. Dave and I talked a lot, and I think I saw so many of you taking notes, which is great. But I want to make sure that we've got time for questions. And Jeff, I guess my thought is because it's 8:43, if you need to go, you can go, but just because it is so close to the time, but definitely Dave, if you've got I don't know if anyone else has time or gosh, if you have questions, let's ask them. I'm sorry. But yeah, if you need to go, you can hop off. Otherwise, I'll be hanging on for a bit. Jeff, Dave, um, I'll open the floor. Go for it.
Can we do this before we ask questions?
Yes.
If you have any, is I just want to share this is what Dave has done here with us just helped us think through our teams kind of in a broad level. Um, I want to ask you all to think about if you would like to contact him individually to work directly with your team. I think he might be open to that. And he's done that with us. And we can just get more specific about who we are and where we're going. He would do the same with you and your team. If you might be interested in that kind of consulting. So I just want to share that I think it'd be well worth your time. So any questions? Any things that stand out to you that we heard or you want to dive deeper in?
Well, I need to hop off here in a moment and take my high schooler to registration. This isn't exactly a question, but I'm just wanted to say thank you because I have a meeting tomorrow with my team, with my planning team. And I wrote down 3 things that I'm definitely going to do. That again, like Danielle, you were saying they were like, this should have been obvious a long time ago. 2 people helping me input the projects onto the volunteer platform. And I've just asked them, can you help me? But it will be really helpful to them to say, hey, on Mondays, I'm going to check it out. Whatever you haven't done, I'm going to do that. Like giving them really, really clear. And also I love the activity you gave us at the 1 minute, 2 minute, whatever. And also at our meeting tomorrow, I now plan to ask them like, hey, what do we want volunteers and project leaders to feel going through this process? And then you're the ones contacting them. What can we do to help them feel that way? So thank you so much. Those things should have been obvious, but it's really helpful. So my team thanks you for this intentionality. So
You're welcome, Tina.
Yes. And we're going to go tackle high school.
Do it.
Good luck.
Anyone else? All right. Just soaking it all in, I see. Cool. Jeff, do you have anything else to say? Dave, do you have anything else to say?
Y'all are fantastic. Don't the work that you do is so important. When you convene people to serve their city, you're giving them an excuse to see the best in here at a time when we prefer to see the worst in each other.
Yeah.
So good. Good final words. Thank you, Dave, so much. And thank you, everyone. Have a great day today.